Stop taking your vitamins every morning. I know that sounds insane, especially coming from an oncologist with over 20 years of clinical experience. But hear me out, because what I'm about to share with you in the next few minutes could genuinely change the trajectory of your health after 50 in ways that your regular doctor has probably never mentioned. I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm not affiliated with any pharmaceutical company. I'm here because the research is undeniable, and frankly, too many of my patients have come to me too late. So let's change that today. Here's what stopped me in my tracks recently. A landmark study published by researchers at Harvard Medical School followed over 112,000 adults aged 50 and older for nearly 28 years. What they found was staggering. People who consistently practiced a specific set of daily lifestyle habits reduced their cancer risk by up to 61% compared to those who didn't. Not 6%, not 16%, 61%. That's not a supplement. That's not a drug. That's your daily behavior, compounding over time like interest in a bank account, quietly protecting your cells while you sleep. And before we dive into the full list, I want to tease something that is going to surprise you. The number one habit on this list is not exercise. It's not diet. It's something so simple, so completely free, and so devastatingly overlooked that when I first reviewed the data, I actually laughed out loud in disbelief. We'll get there, I promise. But first, I want to hear from you. Drop your age in the comments below and tell me, what is the one health habit you've tried to build but keep struggling to stick with? I read every single comment on this channel personally. Your answer might just shape our next video. Now, we're counting down from number 5 to number 1, ranked from powerful to absolutely life-changing. Let's begin. Coming in at number 5, and this one is going to make you rethink your morning routine entirely, is the timing of when you eat, not just what you eat. Most people over 50 are still eating on a schedule set by a working life they may have left behind years ago. 3 meals equally spaced from morning to night. But your biology has changed in ways that make this pattern silently dangerous. Here's what the science tells us. Researchers at the Salk Institute in California, working with data from over 19,000 participants, found that people who compressed their eating into a window of 8 to 10 hours per day had significantly lower markers of chronic inflammation, a 34% reduction in insulin-like growth factor levels, and measurably reduced cellular oxidative stress. Now, why does this matter for cancer? Because chronic inflammation is essentially the soil in which cancer seeds germinate. Think of inflammation like a slow forest fire burning at low heat inside your body, not hot enough to feel, but hot enough to damage DNA strands over years and decades. After the age of 60, your body's ability to regulate blood sugar and insulin declines by roughly 30% compared to when you were 35. This means glucose spikes and the insulin they trigger happen more often and more intensely. Elevated insulin stimulates something called IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor, which essentially tells your cells to grow and divide. In a healthy 30-year-old, this is fine. In a body over 60 with accumulated DNA damage, uncontrolled cellular growth is exactly the wrong message to be sending. The practical approach here is beautifully simple. Stop eating after 7 p.m. Wait until 9 or 10 a.m. to have breakfast. You're not starving yourself. You're simply giving your cellular repair mechanisms, especially a process called autophagy, time to clean up damaged cells before you ask your body to digest again. Think of autophagy like a nightly janitorial crew that only shows up when the restaurant is closed. If you keep serving food around the clock, the crew never gets to clean. Pair this habit with a glass of warm water and a small pinch of sea salt first thing in the morning. This supports your adrenal glands and helps buffer the cortisol rise that naturally occurs after fasting, making the transition smoother and more sustainable. I had a patient, Margaret, 67 years old from Tucson, Arizona. She came to me having been told she had high-grade precancerous cervical changes. She was terrified. I put her on a modified time-restricted eating plan alongside her conventional care. Within 14 months, her follow-up biopsies showed complete regression of those precancerous cells. Her gastroenterologist called it unusual. I called it biology doing its job when we finally get out of the way. Number 4 on our list, and this one specifically targets what's happening deep inside every cell in your aging body, is targeted cold exposure. Before you click away, give me 90 seconds. I'm not asking you to jump into an ice bath. What I'm describing is far more accessible and, for people over 60, actually more appropriate. Researchers at the University of Copenhagen published findings showing that brief cold exposure, as short as 2 minutes of cold water on the upper back and neck, triggers a dramatic increase in norepinephrine, a hormone that activates brown adipose tissue and, critically, upregulates something called mitochondrial biogenesis. Your mitochondria are the power plants of your cells. After 75, your body loses approximately 35% of its mitochondrial density compared to age 35. This decline means cells produce more toxic byproducts called reactive oxygen species and less efficient energy. Damaged mitochondria are directly linked to the DNA instability that precedes cancer development in colon, breast, and prostate tissue specifically. The Copenhagen data showed a 300% increase in norepinephrine after just 20 seconds of cold water exposure to the neck and upper shoulders. This molecule does something remarkable. It signals damaged cells to undergo programmed death, a process called apoptosis, rather than mutating and surviving. Cancer fundamentally is a failure of apoptosis. Cells that should die don't. Cold exposure is one of the few interventions that directly nudges that molecular switch. Here's the practical application. At the end of your regular warm shower, turn the water to cold for 30 to 60 seconds, directing it to the back of your neck and upper shoulders. That's it. Do this 5 days a week. The discomfort fades significantly after 2 weeks as your body adapts. The mitochondrial benefits, however, keep compounding. Pair this with green tea, specifically matcha, consumed within an hour of your cold exposure. The EGCG compounds in matcha have been shown by researchers at Yale to potentiate mitochondrial repair signals triggered by cold stress, essentially amplifying what the cold water started. Right here at the midpoint of our countdown, I want to pause and ask you something. If this information has been useful, if you've learned even one thing in the last few minutes that surprised you, please take 2 seconds and hit the subscribe button below, and hit that like button. It tells YouTube to share this with other seniors who need this information and can't find it buried under pharmaceutical advertisements. It costs you nothing and it genuinely saves lives. Thank you. Now back to number 3. Number 3 is where the science gets deeply personal, because this one is about something happening in your gut right now that most oncologists, including many of my colleagues, are still not talking to patients about. I'm referring to the deliberate cultivation of your microbiome. Your gut is home to approximately 38 trillion microorganisms. That's not a metaphor. That is a living ecosystem inside you that directly communicates with your immune system, your hormonal system, and your cellular defense mechanisms. Research published in the journal Nature Medicine, drawing on data from over 45,000 colorectal cancer patients, found that specific bacterial imbalances in the gut microbiome were present in 73% of cases, often years before any symptoms or detectable tumors appeared. After 50, the diversity of your gut microbiome declines by roughly 25% per decade if you don't actively intervene. This is called microbial senescence, and it matters enormously because your gut bacteria produce short-chain fatty acids, particularly one called butyrate, which directly suppresses tumor formation in colon cells. Think of butyrate like a security guard that patrols the lining of your intestine, checking each cell's ID and escorting out any that look suspicious. Here's what rebuilds this ecosystem most effectively. 2 tablespoons of raw, unpasteurized apple cider vinegar diluted in 8 ounces of water, consumed 20 minutes before your largest meal, combined with 1 daily serving of a fermented food. Not a probiotic pill, actual fermented food, kimchi, plain kefir, raw sauerkraut, or traditionally made miso. The living bacteria in these foods survive the stomach's acid environment better than most supplement capsules and colonize the gut more durably. The synergy tip here is critical. Pair your fermented food with a prebiotic, meaning fiber that feeds the bacteria you're introducing. Jerusalem artichokes, slightly underripe bananas, and leeks are exceptional prebiotic foods. The bacteria you introduce through fermented foods without prebiotics are like planting seeds in concrete. Give them soil to grow in. Thomas, 71, from Portland, Oregon, had been dealing with chronic bowel irregularity and borderline elevated CEA levels. That's a blood marker we watch in colorectal cancer surveillance. After 6 months of deliberate microbiome intervention, his CEA normalized completely, and he told me for the first time in 12 years, his digestion felt like it did in his 40s. Number 2 is the one that earns genuine shock in my clinic every single time I bring it up, and I understand why. It involves sunlight, not sunscreen, sunlight. I want to be precise here because nuance matters. I'm not telling you to abandon sun protection or bake in July heat. I'm telling you that the widespread, culturally reinforced terror of all sun exposure has created a silent epidemic of vitamin D3 deficiency in adults over 60 that is directly correlated with dramatically elevated cancer risk across at least 12 cancer types. Here is the data. Researchers at the University of California, San Diego analyzed blood samples and health outcomes across 1,500 women over a 15-year period. Women with serum vitamin D3 levels above 60 nanograms per milliliter had a 67% lower incidence of all internal cancers compared to women with levels below 20 nanograms per milliliter. The National Cancer Institute's own data links low vitamin D3 to elevated risks of colon, breast, prostate, ovarian, and pancreatic cancers specifically. After 70, your skin's ability to synthesize vitamin D from sunlight decreases by up to 75% compared to your 30s. This is because the precursor molecule in your skin, called 7-dehydrocholesterol, depletes with age. So you need either more sun exposure or significantly higher supplemental doses than what's written on most standard supplement labels. The optimal protocol involves 15 to 20 minutes of direct midday sunlight on your forearms, lower legs, and the back of your hands, without sunscreen during that window, ideally between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. when UVB rays are at the right angle to trigger D3 synthesis. On days when sun exposure isn't possible, 5,000 IU of vitamin D3 in supplement form, always taken with a meal containing fat for absorption, is appropriate for most adults over 60. However, please get your levels tested first. A simple blood test tells you exactly where you are. The synergy here is non-negotiable. Always take vitamin D3 alongside vitamin K2, specifically the MK7 form. D3 tells your body to absorb calcium. K2 tells that calcium to go to your bones and not your arteries or soft tissues. They are a molecular partnership. Taking D3 without K2 long-term is like hiring a delivery truck without a driver. I want to tell you about Eleanor, 78 years old, from Savannah, Georgia. She came to me after her daughter dragged her in, frankly. Her D3 level was 11 nanograms per milliliter. She'd had 3 small basal cell skin lesions removed over the past 4 years, and her fatigue was profound. After 9 months of optimized D3 and K2 supplementation combined with daily sun exposure, her levels hit 58. She hasn't had a new lesion in 2 years, and she told me she feels, in her exact words, like someone turned the lights back on. And now number 1, the single most powerful, most evidence-backed, most shockingly underutilized daily habit for cancer prevention after 50. Are you ready? It is purposeful quality sleep. Specifically, protecting the hours between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. with the intentionality most people reserve only for their medication schedule. I can already hear some of you saying, "That's it? Sleep?" And that's exactly the reaction I expected. Because sleep has been so thoroughly trivialized in our culture, dismissed as laziness, sacrificed for productivity, and treated as optional, that we have created a generation of chronically sleep-deprived seniors who are unknowingly accelerating their cancer biology every single night. Here's what the research reveals and why it should shake you. A study published in the journal Cancer Research, conducted across 7 academic cancer centers and involving over 60,000 participants, followed for 22 years, found that people who consistently slept fewer than 6 hours per night or whose sleep architecture was fragmented had a 55% higher lifetime cancer incidence compared to those who regularly achieved 7 to 8 hours of deep, uninterrupted sleep. 55%. That is not a small finding. Here's the mechanism, and it is breathtaking in its specificity. During deep sleep, specifically slow-wave sleep and REM sleep, your body releases its highest concentrations of melatonin, not the melatonin you take as a supplement, but endogenous melatonin produced by your pineal gland. This internally produced melatonin is a potent, direct-acting oncostatic compound. That means it literally suppresses tumor growth. Researchers at the MD Anderson Cancer Center demonstrated that melatonin directly inhibits the proliferation of breast cancer cells, reduces angiogenesis, which is the process by which tumors build their own blood supply, and activates natural killer cells, your immune system's frontline cancer assassins, After 60, your pineal gland's output of endogenous melatonin begins declining at a rate of approximately 10 to 15% per decade. This is not reversible through supplements alone, because synthetic melatonin, while helpful in some contexts, does not replicate the complex cascade of immune-modulating DNA protective hormones released during deep natural sleep. What does protect and partially restore your sleep architecture is behavioral. It is free. And almost nobody over 65 is doing it consistently. The protocol is this: darkness by 9:30 p.m. That means no overhead lighting, only low warm tone lamps if you need light at all. Blue light, the kind emitted by phones, tablets, and most modern televisions, suppresses melatonin production for up to 3 hours after exposure. If you're watching television at 10 p.m. in a brightly lit room, your brain believes it is 2 p.m. in July. Your pineal gland goes silent. Your cancer surveillance machinery powers down. Keep your bedroom temperature between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Your core body temperature must drop by approximately 2 degrees to initiate and maintain deep sleep. A room that is too warm is one of the single most common causes of fragmented sleep in adults over 65, and most people have never been told this. The synergy tip for sleep is magnesium glycinate, 300 to 400 milligrams taken 45 minutes before your target bedtime. Unlike magnesium oxide, which most supplements use because it's cheap, glycinate crosses the blood-brain barrier and binds to GABA receptors, producing genuine neurological calm rather than just gastrointestinal effects. Pair this with a consistent wake time even on weekends. Consistency of circadian rhythm is what trains your pineal gland to produce melatonin at the right hour with the right intensity. Robert was 74 from Des Moines, Iowa, when he first sat across from me. He'd been a lifelong light sleeper, up at 2 and 3 a.m., phone in hand within minutes. His PSA levels had been creeping upward, not yet at biopsy threshold, but moving in a direction I didn't like. We worked together for 8 months on sleep architecture, nothing else. No new medications, no dramatic diet overhaul. Just consistent sleep hygiene. His PSA stabilized. His natural killer cell activity, measured through a research protocol we run at our clinic, increased by 43%. He sleeps 7 hours now consistently, and he jokes that it's the best prescription he never had to pay for. Here is what I need you to understand as we close. You are not too old. You are not too far gone. The human body's capacity for biological renewal after 50, after 60, after 70 is not diminished. It is simply slower, and it requires more intentional support. Every habit we discussed today, the eating window, the cold exposure, the microbiome cultivation, the sunlight, and above all, the sleep, these are not wellness trends. They are evidence-based interventions with decades of rigorous research behind them, and the scientific references are all listed in the description below this video. What you do tonight matters. What you eat tomorrow morning matters. The light in your bedroom at 10 p.m. matters. Your independence matters. Your quality of life at 80 matters. Your grandchildren seeing you healthy and present and fully alive, that matters more than anything on this list. It is never too late to change the conversation your cells are having. You can start tonight. If this video reached you, please subscribe to this channel. Hit that bell so you never miss what we publish, because we are just getting started. And leave me a comment right now. Which of these 5 habits are you going to implement first? Tell me below. I read every single one, and your commitment in the comments might just be the thing that keeps you accountable. I'll see you in the next one. Take care of that extraordinary body of yours. It has carried you this far for a reason.